Okay, so you're here with us because you want to understand things deeply, really get to the heart of things,
Absolutely.
but you don't want to have to wade through mountains of material,
Yeah.
right?
Who has time for that?
Exactly. So today we're going to take a deep dive straight into the Vedas and the Upanishads.
Oh, fascinating stuff.
These are ancient Indian texts that people have been turning to for literally thousands of years
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
to understand things like spirituality, consciousness, and like all the really big questions of existence.
The ultimate questions, for sure.
Yeah, and think of this deep dive as like your express lane to really grasping the core ideas of these incredibly important scriptures.
Like a cheat sheet.
Kind of,
Yeah.
but a smart cheat sheet, you know?
Right.
We'll break it down and figure out why these teachings still matter so much today, why they're still relevant.
It's amazing how timeless they are.
So maybe you could give us just a quick overview, for someone who's maybe hearing about these for the first time.
Absolutely. So the Vedas are often considered humanity's oldest spiritual writings, and the Upanishads, those really get to the philosophical heart of the Vedas. They offer just incredibly insightful perspectives, really deep wisdom.
Yeah. And we want to pull out the most crucial knowledge from all of this, right?
Exactly. Our goal is to distill it down and see what makes them so enduring.
What makes them stick around for so long?
Yeah, exactly. What's the secret sauce, right?
Exactly. So it's a pretty ambitious deep dive, right? We're talking about tracing back the origins, uncovering the key teachings, and then even figuring out how this stuff impacts us in the modern world.
And how could it not impact us, really?
Right. And we're going to look at how these ancient texts have shaped practices like yoga and meditation.
Oh, yeah, huge influence there.
Right. And we'll even touch on some surprising connections to contemporary science.
Oh, yeah, you'll be surprised.
Ready to explore some serious wisdom.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So first things first, let's start with the Vedas.
Okay, great.
Now, the word Veda itself, what does it actually mean?
Well, Veda simply means knowledge. And these texts are considered, the source from which so much else flows.
Knowledge. Okay, makes sense. So where did this knowledge come from?
So the story goes that this knowledge was revealed thousands of years ago to ancient sages, these seers, these wise people.
These rishis, right?
Exactly, the rishis of that time. And it's important to remember, this was a world where these profound insights weren't written down. They were passed on orally through memory and dedication.
So it was an oral tradition.
A powerful oral tradition.
Really highlighting how vital these teachings were considered, right?
Oh, absolutely. The accuracy that was maintained through generations of just oral transmission is really quite remarkable.
Yeah, wow. And it's not just one book, right? The Vedas?
No, not at all.
It's a whole collection.
The Vedas are a collection, yeah. They're organized into 4 parts, each with a distinct purpose.
Okay, so let's break this down. What are the 4 parts?
Okay, so first you have the Rig Veda, which is considered the oldest and probably the most captivating for many.
Okay.
It's a collection of hymns, very powerful and poetic hymns that explore the creation of the universe, the nature of the deities, and just the fundamental order of things.
Now,
It's really something. And here's where it gets really, really interesting. There's this famous hymn called the Nasadya Sukta, which is also known as the Hymn of Creation.
oh, I heard of this one.
And it asks these fundamental questions. What existed before the universe?
Right.
Was it nothing? Was it everything? And think about this. Thousands of years ago, these texts were grappling with the very questions that still baffle physicists today.
Yeah,
It's mind-blowing, right?
it really is.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just mythology.
No.
They were really thinking deeply about the nature of existence itself.
Absolutely. It was an early exploration of existence. It's incredible. Now, the second Veda is the Yajurveda, and this one shifts the focus to the practical side of things. It serves as a guide for performing rituals and sacrifices. You could think of it as like the procedural manual for important ceremonies.
Yeah, like the instructions for connecting with the divine through specific actions, right?
Exactly. Like, how do we actually do this?
Right, exactly. So what comes after the Yajurveda?
So then we have the Samaveda. And this one is all about the chants and melodies used in those spiritual ceremonies. Think of it like the musical score for Vedic practice. It emphasizes the power of sound, of vibration.
Right, so sound is central here.
Absolutely, the energy of sound.
Yeah, fascinating. Okay, so we've got the Rig Veda, the Yajurveda, the Samaveda, and what's the 4th?
The 4th is the Atharva Veda. And this one takes a bit of a different tack. It includes mantras and spells, but for more everyday needs, things like healing, protection, navigating the challenges of life.
So more practical.
More grounded, yeah. But it shows how interwoven the spiritual and the practical were in their worldview.
There's a holistic view.
Very realistic, yeah. It gives us a glimpse into their understanding of well-being. And, it's interesting, the Rig Veda, with those early cosmological inquiries, that's what often sparks connections with modern science.
Right, right. So we see this incredible breadth within the Vedas.
So much breadth, yeah.
From these cosmic creation stories to practical rituals for daily life.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating when we consider how some of these ancient insights, they resonate with discoveries made millennia later in modern science.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how's that even possible, right?
It makes you wonder.
To think that these ancient texts contain, not just these spiritual insights, but also hints of mathematical principles.
Oh, yeah.
Astronomical observations, and even concepts that sound remarkably like modern ideas about energy fields, right?
It's incredible, isn't it?
Like take Brahman, for example. This concept of an ultimate underlying reality, the very ground of existence, that permeates everything.
Yeah.
Some people see parallels between this and the modern scientific pursuit of a unified field theory.
It's very interesting, isn't it?
Right. So this is like a single framework that could explain all the fundamental forces and particles in the universe.
A theory of everything, in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And they were thinking about this thousands of years ago.
And what's fascinating here is that it's not about direct scientific equations or anything, but rather a shared inquiry into the fundamental nature of reality.
Yeah. Like different ways of approaching the same core questions.
Exactly. Different tools, different language, but the same drive to understand.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And it's well documented that influential scientists like Nikola Tesla, who, worked extensively with electromagnetism, and Erwin Schrödinger, a key figure in quantum mechanics.
Oh, yeah. Huge figure.
Were really intrigued, even inspired, by concepts they encountered in Vedic philosophy.
It's well documented, yeah. They were fascinated by these ancient ideas.
Wow. So it suggests that maybe there's this deeper understanding of the universe, maybe even an intuitive understanding that was already present in these ancient texts.
Yeah, an intuitive grasp of things that we're just starting to rediscover now.
Right, it's like they were tapping into something really profound.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the Vedas as this foundational body of knowledge, this really incredible collection of texts. Now let's shift gears a little bit and dive into what are often considered the essence, the real philosophical core of the Vedas, the Upanishads.
Okay, yes. The Upanishads. So how are they different from the Vedas?
Okay, so the Upanishads, they represent a move from the more ritualistic and hymn-focused aspects of the Vedas to a deeper exploration of the philosophy of life, the nature of the self, and the understanding of ultimate reality.
So it's like going deeper, more philosophical.
Exactly. They really get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah. And the word Upanishad itself, what does it mean?
Upanishad actually means to sit near. And it evokes this beautiful image of a student, humbly approaching a wise teacher.
Like at their feet.
Yeah, like sitting at their feet to receive this profound spiritual wisdom.
Wow.
Through this close personal guidance. That image, that's really the spirit of the Upanishads.
So it's like getting access to the secret teachings, right?
Yeah, like the insider knowledge.
Real deal.
The good stuff. And there are a vast number of Upanishads. I mean, over 200 by some accounts.
Wow, a lot of Upanishads.
But there are about 10 to 12 that are considered the most central, the most influential, the ones that have really shaped so much of Indian thought and philosophy.
Okay, so even within the Upanishads, there's a core set that are considered the most important.
Yeah. Exactly. The essentials.
So what are some of those key Upanishads?
Okay, so there's the Isha Upanishad, which beautifully expresses the interconnectedness of all things and the eternal nature of the individual soul. It's a really powerful read. And then there's the Kena Upanishad. And this one asks a really fundamental question about agency, Who is the true power behind all our actions? Like, are we really the ones in control? Or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah, that is a fundamental question.
It compels you to look beyond the surface and consider the ultimate source of our being.
And then there's the Mundaka Upanishad.
Yes, the Mundaka Upanishad. And this one draws a crucial distinction between what it calls lower knowledge, the knowledge of the material world, and higher knowledge, the understanding of the eternal. And it says that higher knowledge, that's what leads to liberation.
Okay, so it's about going beyond the material to something deeper.
Exactly. So you can see just within these three Upanishads, there's already so much depth, so much to explore.
Yeah, and there are more.
Yeah, many more. But these give you a good sense of the kind of profound insights you can find in the Upanishads.
So when we look at these core Upanishads, what are the really big aha moments? What are the key teachings that still resonate with us today?
Okay, so at the heart of the Upanishads is this really profound understanding of the relationship between Brahman and Atman.
Okay, right. We talked about Brahman, the ultimate, all-pervading reality.
The ground of existence, yeah.
But remind us, what is Atman again?
Yeah, Atman is the individual soul, the essence within each of us.
Okay.
And what the Upanishads reveal, and this is really the key, is that Brahman and Atman are not separate. They are fundamentally one and the same.
Whoa, okay.
So think of Brahman as the ocean.
Okay.
Vast, all-encompassing.
Right.
And Atman is like a wave on that ocean.
Oh,
the
yeah.
wave appears individual, right?
Yeah.
But it's ultimately made of the same water as the ocean.
I see.
So that's the connection between Atman and Brahman, the wave and the ocean. And it points to the divinity that's inherent within each individual.
Wow, that's powerful. So the divine isn't something external to us,
No.
but something within us.
Within each and every one of us.
Okay. And this leads to some of the most profound statements in the Upanishads, right?
Exactly. Like the famous saying, Aham Brahmasmi.
Which means,
I am Brahman.
well, I am Brahman.
And this isn't about ego. It's not about inflating the individual self.
Yeah.
It's a declaration of our inherent connection to that infinite consciousness, recognizing that our deepest self is part of the ultimate reality.
That's huge.
It's about realizing our true nature is boundless.
Aham Brahmasmi.
Yeah.
It's incredibly empowering and also deeply humbling at the same time. And there's another famous saying, Tatavam Asi.
Tatama esi.
You are the man.
Which also points to that same fundamental unity, but directed outward.
Okay, so how does this fit in with that understanding of Brahman and Atman?
So Tattvamasi is a reminder that what we perceive as separate, other people, other beings, the entire universe,
Yeah.
is ultimately a manifestation of that same underlying reality.
Brahman, we're all connected.
Exactly. Interconnected. It's a reminder of our shared essence,
Yeah.
as limitless beings beyond the limitations of our individual bodies and identities. It's an invitation to see the divine in everything.
So if these ancient texts are saying that the divine resides within us
Yeah.
and connects us all,
Mm-hmm.
it raises the question, how do we live our lives based on this understanding?
Right. That's the big question.
How do we translate these profound philosophical insights into practical guidance for today?
Okay, so the Upanishads, they place a significant emphasis on introspection, on turning our attention inward to truly understand the nature of the self. And this is where practices like dhyana or deep meditation and self-inquiry become so central.
Okay, so meditation, self-reflection.
Exactly. By quieting the mind and looking within, we can begin to experience that connection to our true self, to Atman.
It's about direct experience.
Yes, going beyond the intellectual concepts and having the direct experience.
Right, and it's no coincidence that modern-day mindfulness practices and the entire discipline of yoga have their roots firmly in this ancient wisdom.
Absolutely. The Upanishads laid the groundwork.
Yeah, and these practices, they give us practical methods for exploring this inner landscape.
Exactly. Tools to work with.
It's amazing to think about something as widespread as yoga today,
I know, right?
having its foundation in these ancient explorations of consciousness.
It's really quite remarkable.
Yeah, and we talked about the Patanjali Yoga Sutras
Yes.
and the Bhagavad Gita. So how do those build upon the teachings of the Upanishads?
Okay, so the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, they offer a really systematic framework for the practice of yoga, which is essentially a practical path to realizing that unity described in the Upanishads.
Okay.
It provides step-by-step guidance, very clear instructions for stilling the mind and achieving deeper states of awareness.
So it's like a manual for yoga practice.
Exactly, a guidebook.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bhagavad Gita, this is often seen as a concise summary of Upanishadic wisdom, but presented in the context of this really relatable human story. Oh, interesting.
And it offers guidance on how to live a meaningful, purposeful life grounded in this understanding of reality. So it's like applying the core principles of the Upanishads to the everyday challenges of being human.
So it's not just about abstract philosophy.
No. Yeah,
It's about how to actually live your life.
exactly. Putting these teachings into practice.
Right, okay. So beyond just understanding these concepts intellectually, what are some of the specific practices emphasized in the Upanishads and these related texts that we can still incorporate into our lives today?
Well, as we've discussed, dhyana, deep meditation, that's crucial for directly experiencing our connection to Atman, and pranayama, the control of breath.
Yeah.
It's another key practice for
Right.
managing our life force, our prana,
Okay.
and bringing harmony to the mind and body.
Okay, so meditation, breath work, these are key.
Very important, yeah. And then ultimately, the overarching goal is self-realization,
Self-realization, okay.
which means transcending our limited identification with, material desires and the ego,
Go.
to recognize our true nature as part of that infinite consciousness.
Right, it all comes back to that connection with Brahman.
Exactly, full circle.
Right.
And this leads to a state of inner peace and liberation. So you can see, these aren't just abstract ideas. They offer a practical path for personal transformation.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how this ancient wisdom is resonating so strongly today.
Mm.
There's so much interest in mindfulness, meditation, well-being.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
And it seems like it's because these teachings speak to a fundamental human desire
Absolutely.
for clarity, peace, and a sense of purpose, right?
Yeah, a deeper meaning.
A deeper meaning, yeah.
That goes beyond the surface level of daily life.
Right. It's like we're rediscovering something that's been there all along.
I think that's exactly what's happening. We're remembering something ancient and essential.
Yeah. And in a world that's often characterized by distraction and, this relentless pursuit of external fulfillment.
Oh, totally. The Upanishads offer this timeless invitation to turn inward, to discover a deeper, more enduring source of peace and understanding within ourselves.
Yeah, to find that peace within.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we come to the end of this deep dive into the Vedas and Upanishads,
It's been a journey.
it has. What's the key message you hope our listener takes away from this? What's the essential nugget of wisdom that shines through all these ancient words?
I think the most significant takeaway is this recognition that the Vedas and Upanishads, these aren't just relics of the past.
Yep.
They contain a timeless and universal wisdom about the fundamental nature of reality and our place within it.
Yeah.
And they speak to the very core of what it means to be human.
Absolutely. So whether you're actively seeking, spiritual enlightenment, or you're just curious about the origins of practice like yoga and meditation, or even if you're just trying to understand, the deeper currents of human thought, these teachings offer incredibly relevant and insightful perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
And it's remarkable how some of their core ideas even seem to find echoes in, the most advanced frontiers of modern scientific inquiry. It suggests a really profound and enduring understanding of the universe that was present thousands of years ago.
It's really mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, for anyone on a journey of self-discovery or seeking a deeper understanding of existence,
Yeah.
exploring the Upanishads can be a truly transformative experience,
You can really shift your perspective on things.
offering a fresh and profound way of looking at life and your own potential.
You start to see things differently.
Yeah. And on that note, here's a final thought for you to consider. We explored this powerful idea from the Upanishads. You are divine.
Ah, yes.
Even if you haven't thought of yourself as being on a spiritual journey, take a moment to truly contemplate the implications of that statement.
It's worth pondering, for sure.
What if it were fundamentally true? How might that understanding, even subtly shift your perspective, influence your interaction?
Yeah, how would you relate to the world differently?
Exactly. How would it change the way you see yourself and the world around you?
Yeah, big questions.
It's an invitation to explore a really profound possibility within yourself.
A possibility that's been resonating for millennia.
Exactly.
Really powerful stuff.
So thanks for taking this deep dive with us. And until our next exploration, keep that curiosity alive.
Absolutely. Always keep exploring.
You got it.